Today we're making this delicious chocolate brownie. You can see it's got a wonderful crust on top. You can see the crumb, the texture is great. It's chewy, it's dense. It's actually got chocolate chips in it. It is really good and pretty easy to pull together. Stay tuned and you'll see how I do it. To make these brownies, first thing we're going to do is mix the dry ingredients together. For that, we need about 4 grams of salt. This is kosher salt, so it's probably about a teaspoon, a little bit more. I'm actually doing this on a scale. We need about a 1/4 teaspoon baking powder, and we need 100 grams, which is about 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. So that I've got already weighed out. Then this will just mix up. Now, we'll set that aside. I've got a small saucepan here. I will tear that out. To this, we're going to add our fats and our sugar. For that, we want about 150 grams of regular sugar. Put that in here. 150 grams of that. We need 50 grams of brown sugar. The recipe calls for dark brown sugar. I've got sort of golden brown sugar, but that's what I got, so we'll give it a shot. It's 52 grams, close enough. And we will add a stick of unsalted butter. This is 115 grams. The final fat that we're adding to this is olive oil. It's 2 tablespoons or 30 grams. I'm just going to add the olive oil in here by weight, 30 grams. That's 30 grams. We got our fats and our sugars. I'm just going to go over to the stove and we will let this melt. You can see here that the fats are incorporated, the sugar is incorporated, not quite melted, but that's about as good as it's going to get with this amount of liquid here. There's a little bit of sugar crystals because I had it on too high at first. There might be some interesting textural elements to this, a few sugar crystals around, but that's good. We're going to now take that off the heat and bring it back to the counter and add the chocolate. So here we are. This is 100 grams of Calibut milk chocolate. The recipe calls for chips, and if you have that, great. I don't. I just have blocks of cooking chocolate. So this is milk, about 100 grams. Just going to throw it in there and stir it around until it melts. If I would have cut that chocolate up in smaller pieces, it would have melted a little faster, but it's melting pretty fast. And the texture is supposed to look grainy at this stage, which it does. Everything's melted and incorporated, but still a little bit grainy. Now we're going to transfer this to a bowl and let it cool. So this just needs to cool for 5 to 10 minutes. It's been about 5 minutes. I've got this back on a scale. If you're wondering what this sugar butter chocolate mixture tastes like, it is pretty good. To this now, this is Dutch process cocoa, and the recipe does call for Dutch process. You can use regular if you like, but you actually need more of it. So you want 50 grams of this. We're gonna add it in and then whisk it. Let's throw in 50 grams of cocoa. Now we will just give this a whisk. That is pretty well incorporated. Now we're gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla. Here I have 2 large eggs. We'll whisk this in to incorporate as well. Very interesting. You can see now it's really taking on a batter-like consistency, very shiny. That's mixed. Now what we're going to do now is let it rest for 10 minutes. The sugar never really had a chance to fully incorporate and melt. This will give it enough time in order to do that. Then we will add the dry ingredients. It's been about 10 minutes, so I'm just going to give this another quick whisk. It should be smooth. Okay. Now into this we're going to add the dry ingredients. So I'm just going to sort of dust this in. We need to fold this in. Don't want to overdo it because we don't want to start any gluten formation here because that'll impact the texture of the final product. And that looks like it is incorporated. Final step. Here we've got dark chocolate, about 85 grams. Again, recipe calls for chocolate chips. I had Calibut blocks, so I chopped it up. It's all different sizes, but I think that will create some nice textural elements. I did put it through a sifter just to get all the dust out of it. There are some small pieces here, but I did sift all the dust out of it. So just going to throw that in now, and now we're just going to fold this until they're reasonably evenly distributed in the batter. I think that's probably good. Now we're going to transfer to a pan. Now this should be in an 8x8 brownie pan, and fortunately I don't have a 8x8 brownie pan. I thought I did, but I don't. What I did have is an 8x8 sort of aluminum pan, same size, but this is probably going to cook faster than an actual proper pan, and it's possible that Normally it'd be nice to get a bit of a crust around the outside. I'm not sure if I'll achieve that with this, but it's all I had. I just sprayed it with some oil, and now we are going to transfer the batter into the pan. We want to do this somewhat evenly because we're not going to actually spread it with the spatula once it's in the pan. We want it to settle down on its own because that will make for a better crust on top. There, so that is in the pan. Now we just want to tap this, try to level it out a little bit. Shake. I think that looks good. That's going to give it a nice texture on the top. This now goes into a preheated 325 degree oven. And we'll cook it, recipe says up to 35 minutes. Again, this is a thinner pan, so it might be a little quicker, but we'll sort of keep an eye on it. This is cooked for about 36 minutes and then took it out of the oven. I let it cool for about an hour and a half. Now it's just at room temperature. You can see how it's got a fairly nice, bring that up, use the shadow. It's got a fairly nice top to it, nice and crisp looking. Well, that's good. Now we're going to cut into it and just take a piece, see how it is. Came out nice and clean. So you can see here, the inside looks good. You can see some of the chocolate chips that are in there. Frame here. It's got a nice crumb to it. Let's see how it tastes. It's very good, a lot of different textures. A bit of chewiness, sort of tender, some tenderness. You can see there's the chocolate is in there. The edges are nice. They actually turned out better in that pan than I thought it would. That is a very good brownie, for sure. I'm now going to try not to eat the rest of that tray. Thanks for watching. I hope you give this a shot. It really is a great brownie and pretty easy to pull together just in a bowl, all mixed by hand. You know, it's a few extra steps perhaps than getting a box, but it's 100 times better. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.